bottom of the ocean. I'm at the bottom of the sea. I'm gonna stay down, down. I'm just stuck here in a dream. I'm at the bottom of the ocean. I'm at the bottom of the sea. I'm gonna stay down, down. I'm just stuck here in a dream. I'm at the bottom of the sea. I'm gonna stay down, down. I'm just stuck here in a dream.
This is a public service announcement from C.T. Fletcher. I will not contribute to the pussification of a nation. Get your punk ass out there and work for it, motherfucker. Let's roll.
Morning, Sergeant Major.
How do you know what kind of goddamn day it is?
Beautiful morning, Sergeant Major.
Are you a fucking weatherman now?
You're listening to Sergeant's Time on WTF Nation Radio.
The pun intended. Scott, man.
What's going on, brother?
Get it? What's up?
I got it.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome.
You know, my mom's name's Anita. My mom's name's Anita, man. You can't even make that up.
I have respected moms here. I don't do mom jokes, so I'll just respect the mom there.
I've heard them all anyway, bro.
Man, Scott, it's good for you to join us, guys. For the team that doesn't know, the WTF Nation, like I said yesterday, was the encore presentation of Last Out Elegy of a Green Beret. But also, Scott has come to join us to talk about his book and just so many things that we got to cover that we just decided, you know what, Spanky could take the night off, and we're just going to have him just shoot the breeze because sometimes an hour isn't enough. So, anyways, so how you been, brother?
Not for this.
Yeah, not for this, exactly.
Good, man. Good, hanging in there. I mean, it's a rough time, you know. This is, I don't know, for me, and I think a lot of the people that served in Afghanistan or that had friends that fell there, this is just a really, really surreal, difficult week, and I will be glad when it's over.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I know. It's I got buddies of mine right now that are in 9th Science Battalion. You know, they're dealing with it right now because I guess it's Afghanistan. The event at the Abbey Gate bombing happened tomorrow or today, but it's tomorrow in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
right about the same hour, right?
Yeah. And you know, it's like the page just got turned, like it never even happened. And for those 13 that fell in their families, I can't even imagine what that must be like for them, because it's really like there was no opportunity to just process and come to terms with it like we all need to do, but certainly how families need the time to do that in the context of combat. And it just was like the whole thing was just made to disappear, man.
No, I know. What did the? I mean, well, first off, let's reintroduce you, because I know some fans don't tune into Sergeant's Time because they'll either tune into other formats. But you've been a guest here before.
Sure.
And
I have, yeah.
Let's talk about Last Out.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So, what'd you think? How'd it do? I didn't. Every
time we play it, I can't. Like last night, I had a beginning and an end commentary, and I couldn't. I was a bumbling mess as always, man. It's like I can't watch that without getting the feels. You know what I mean? So, and the audience loved it. The audience felt that they needed to see it too. So I did have some questions from the audience that came into my DMs and asked me, is the story true of Last Out?
It's based on true events. Absolutely. Yeah, it's based. Not all of them happened to me. It's not an autobiographical story. In fact, I was a lieutenant colonel in Special Forces when I retired. But when I wrote the play, I wanted. It seems like all the movies and films are on about officers, and I wanted to do something that really celebrated a special ops NCO, or just an NCO, like a senior NCO, and his journey from a junior enlisted all the way up. And so I wrote the play Last Out through the lens of one Green Beret named Danny Patton and his family as they endured the longest war in American history in Afghanistan, and how just that back and forth between his living room and his fire base, ultimately just kind of had the wheels come off on that for him, his family, and just the toll that modern war takes. It's not an anti-war film at all. I mean, you saw it. It's just, I tried to make it as true as possible from the lens of the people who lived it.
Right.
And it is based largely on true events.
So Master Sergeant Patton, and he's basically a mixed different experiences and individuals.
Yeah, that's right. He's a composite character. He is based on 3 amazing team sergeants that I had that didn't make it home. And I wrapped them into one character, Master Sergeant Danny Patton, and everything about his name represents their names. In the film, you probably, I don't know, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. There's every name in that film, it pays homage to a fallen or a fallen spouse. Everything in there is meant to keep the stories alive of our brothers and sisters and their families who served. That's the whole thing, is to use storytelling to keep their memories alive for as long as there's storytelling.
No, I hear you. So how long did it take? I mean, what was it that sparked it? What was it that,
Yeah, I got out in 2013. I did almost 23 years in the Army. I did about 18 of that as a Green Beret. And I started working on the play. Had a terrible transition, man. Almost took my own life. It was just terrible. And I wasn't ready to transition. I thought I was. I wasn't. I lost my identity, my purpose. I got caught up in myself and just didn't come home, man. Like I didn't come home. I didn't allow myself to come home. And through that really, really dark journey, I had some mentors who showed me the power of storytelling as a way to heal the brain, as a way to use narrative to process the shit from my life. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with just every aspect of storytelling. And so at some point, man, like 2017, I decided to write a play. And it was really more for myself. It was never to see the light of day. But 2017, man, it's been like, and we didn't even put it up on the stage until 2019. So it was years and years of writing. And then to complete my midlife crisis, like I learned, I wanted to act in it because I wanted it to be all veterans and military family members, like no civilian actors. And so I had to learn how to act at 50. So I traveled to New York secretly for a year and studied under Larry Moss Moss, Carl Bury, these amazing acting coaches who I think were just so amused at what I was trying to do. They were like, well, this is different. But yeah, 5 years, man, 5 years to put this thing up.
Did you envision it as a play or just like a storybook or like maybe a movie, or what did you think? What was I guess what was going to be the output?
I mean, I thought, so I had a mentor whose name was Bo Eason, right? And if you ever look this guy up, he's really cool. He played football in the NFL. Some of you sports buffs on here may know the Eason brothers. His brother Tony was a quarterback for the Patriots back in the day, before Tom Brady. And Bo was a free safety, and he was like voted the dirtiest safety in the NFL. Man, the dude would hit you so hard you smelled smoke. And he blew his knee out for the 7th time, and he became an actor, and he wrote a one-person play called Runt of the Litter about his journey to become a football player. Anyway, dude ended up training me as a storyteller and talked me into this writing a play thing because he thought it would help me get past that dark period in my life. And so I just started writing a one-person show about this guy, Danny Patton. I had no idea where it was going. I just knew, here's what I knew. All the movies, all the books are always about the first in, the door kickers, the guys that take down the target. And that's cool because, I mean, we need those stories. But there's no story about the last out. The men and women who go back over there, like the TPTs and the civil affairs guys and the Marines and the SF guys day after day, month after month, year after year, for years, and their families, and what toll that takes on them over time. It's like less than 1% of the population. Now, I wanted to tell that story. I wanted to chronicle the journey of one dude and his family as they, from 9/11 all the way through until he unfortunately passes away. But it is a story of hope, redemption, ascension, and most of all, letting go of the pain that we all carry. And but I never knew, Ice, where it was going to go until I really started. About 2018, I actually did one scene at a little community theater. I don't know. I just wanted to see how it would be received, and it like brought the house down, man. People were weeping and they just like loved it. And I thought, okay, well, maybe this is a play. And so we went back to the drawing board and just kept going until we debuted it on Veterans Day 2019 here in Tampa.
Well, then, and then you decided to, dude, what was the schedule like? I mean, the schedule for this thing must have been intense.
Well, and the thing is, you know, I think a lot of veterans will get this, right? But we when we get out of the military, like we ran so hard and we ran so many miles in the military that it's part of the problem is being still. I had a team sergeant tell me one time, "Sir, I'm like a great white. If I stay still, I'll die." And I feel like for me, that's kind of true for me. I have to keep moving. I have to stay in front of the things that, you know, are in my past. And I need to create. I need to take the TNT, as my buddy Bo Eason says, that's in my gut and put it out in the world in a positive way. So to answer your question, I mean, I was running a rooftop leadership company. I was running a nonprofit called The Hero's Journey, where we teach storytelling to veterans. And then I decided to write this play. My wife's like, "You are out of your damn mind. Like, what are you doing?" And you know, we had no money for this thing, man. And I really wanted to put this play up, and we couldn't even get a theater in Tampa to let us rent the theater because they thought it was going to be some kind of anti-war flick or play.
Yeah.
And so we ended up renting the ballroom at the Marriott. We rented our own lights, our own sound. Like 300 of my buddies and people from Tampa came to bear witness to my midlife crisis. And we put the show up with 4 veteran actors. And it was a real hit, man. I mean, like, it really brought the place down. And everybody in the talkback was like, that needs to go on the road. Every American in the country needs to see that play. So the part we didn't talk about was we toured 16 cities. We put 28,000 miles on a U-Haul van. Like, our whole touring crew were wounded veterans, Gold Star moms, the wives of veterans who had committed suicide. We were the island of misfit toys. And we toured 16 cities. We performed for thousands of people in cafeterias and playhouses and off-Broadway. We did 250 PTS interventions in the lobbies. We took our own counselors with us. They worked with us so that we could really drop into these emotional roles. We took our own counselors, did 250 PTS interventions, and then we honored like 75 Gold Star families. And then we toured 1 year, had the second year lined up, and COVID shut it down. So we decided to make it a film. You know, we decided to make it a film, and we, you know, we kind of do what Hamilton did with their play. We didn't have the money that Hamilton did, so we raised about $250,000. We filmed it ourselves, and we put it up on Amazon Prime, Google TV, Apple TV, and Vudu. And we did that just, 6 months ago, man.
Yeah. Fans are saying, hey, you guys can check out the timeline.
And what you guys saw. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You know, I was going to say that some of the fans were asking if they want to see the play. As you guys can still see the play. It's still posted up on WTF Nation Radio and U.S. Army WTF Women's Facebook page still until we take it down, because then you could just go on Amazon Prime to grab it. So you might be able to snag it up. It's It'll fall off on the Twitch one. It'll fall off on the YouTube one. That's actually I almost called you Danny, bro. God damn, because I watched this so many times. I don't see you as Scott. I see you as Sergeant Patton.
That's okay.
It's a compliment because you're a sergeant. You know what I mean? You're an NCO. That's an NCO thing, I guess.
That's a huge compliment. That's a huge compliment.
So
you know, I'm not kidding you, man. Yeah.
I see the reaction to everybody.
Honor.
And there's some people that just like, I mean, every spot, man, every veteran, like I said, and I even said last night, barely as I was stammering through my emotions, is that everyone who went to Afghanistan and Iraq can relate to every emotion and every vignette and scenario that you put in there, everything. So
yeah, I appreciate that. And a lot of people have asked me, Ice, they're like, hey, did you guys wrote after the fall of Afghanistan? I'm like, no, we didn't. We didn't. Even though there's lines like, Danny saying to Colonel Smith, like, you can't make people a promise that gives them hope and then abandon them when it becomes politically inconvenient. You know, I mean, like the thing is, man, I mean, you were there. Like, we knew this was going to happen.
Right. Well,
we knew how this was going to go.
The thing is, though, Scott, it was almost prophetic, because seeing it again last night, I mean, I watched little blurbs and stuff or just real quick edits or whatever, but I saw, finally seeing the full thing last night. Again, I was, especially when Danny was talking to the village elder and in the KLE, and also the rescue of the kids. That scene, it was so prophetic. It was like, holy shit, exactly what Last Out, whatever. Well, actually, not just Last Out, but what all veterans saw was going to happen with Afghanistan, with the withdrawal was going to happen, and it just, holy shit, it hit.
Right. And the thing is, man, I mean, it's an elegy of a Green Beret, but I think you and I can both agree that about 5 minutes into the play, you realize this is about every person that ever served in Afghanistan. It's not about a Green Beret. Like, it's the universal singular. It is. Right. My goal was that if you served over there, or if you served in Iraq, hell, if you served in Vietnam, you locate yourself some in that story, and the military family members, right? I mean, because we never talk about them. We never honor them to the degree that we should. They're a national treasure. And so this movie it's also to help our not just our veterans, but our military family members and our Gold Star family members know that we love them, and that we'll all, and that we will never stop telling the story of their loved ones, ever.
Exactly.
Ever. As Tim O'Brien said in his book, The Things They Carried. Stories are for those late hours in the night when you can't remember how you got from where you were to where you are now. For when memory is erased and there's nothing to remember except the story. And that's what this play is all about, is that long after we're gone, long after, 9/11 lands on people like Pearl Harbor landed on us, it wasn't a lived experience. You can watch this play and you can feel what it was like to say goodbye to your spouse at the airfield. You can feel what it was like to hold your buddy in his final moments, or feel the guilt of, being home when you wanted to be over there, and being over there when you wanted to be home. Like, all that stuff that we lived for 20 years, man. That's my goal is that, and if you watch it on any of those streaming platforms after you guys take it down, what I can tell you is it's a nonprofit project, and 100% of our proceeds, other than what those platforms take, it goes to our workshops to help veterans tell their stories. So just by watching the film, you're helping us help other veterans and family members and first responders learn how to tell their story as a transition tool. So it's just, there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good in that project.
No, you're right. It is. So what made you decide to go to film? I remember you and I talking about it when you did the when we did the viewing at in Fayetteville, and you were talking about, you were just like, yeah, man, this is this is what we're doing. This is the film. This is how it's going to be. I'm like, bro, I thought it was just a play. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you, there was a couple of people who really inspired me all the way through this. One of them was Gary Sinise. Gary Sinise, with what he did with the Vietnam play Tracers. If anybody's ever heard of that, yep. John Fusco was a Vietnam veteran. He wrote this play called Tracers. He got Vietnam veterans in the cast, and Gary saw this thing in 1982 maybe, and he was a young actor at the time, and he was convinced that play was a post-Vietnam necessity. He brought it to Steppenwolf in Chicago. It's still there, still running. And I read that in Gary's book, Grateful American. And it just hit me between the running lines, because at the time I was writing Last Out, trying to figure out what to do with it. And I thought, oh my God, this dude has done it. Like, he took, and this could be the post 9/11 Tracers, right? Mm-hmm. to be answers. And so I really got hope from that. What probably caused, I guess what caused me to do the play and the film was a lot of veterans will say, man, this is hard for me to watch. And I'm like, I get it. And the truth is, I didn't actually write the play for veterans or military family members or even Gold Star family members. I actually wrote the play for civilians because my observation was that 20 years into the war, my son was 3 when the towers fell, and now he's an infantry lieutenant. And most of the people in the country didn't even know we were still in Afghanistan in 2018, 2019. They didn't even know we were still there. And even if they did, it was a casual annoyance or a trite thank you for your service, and that was it. Right. And I just thought, man, like, we can't keep sending our young people to these places if the civilian population doesn't have some kind of emotional connection to what we're asking them to do. It's like a Fortnite game.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, that kind of detachment from what our men and women were doing and what their families were enduring. And I thought, that's crap. So I wanted to use theater. I had experienced what storytelling can do. I'd seen tracers. I'd seen some of the things they carried. And I'm like, Arthur Miller's All My Sons. I said, our generation needs something like this. So that was the real impetus was to put my foot on the chest of civilians so that they could experience the emotional ride. And yes, have veterans in the room and military family members and Gold Star family members so that when the lights came up, when we did our talk back, we could talk about it as a community. And that's what we did for 16 cities. And then when COVID shut it down, I just thought, man, after a year, our veteran population had just been decimated by COVID and all the mental health stuff that was going with it. And I thought if we could make this a film, we could reach a lot more people.
Right.
And it's not the same as a live performance, but it could reach a lot more people. And that was the bet that we placed. And we had no money, dude. Like, we had nothing. We raised it all ourselves through just grassroots fundraising. And I'm glad we did. I think it's reached a lot of people, and I've had a lot of people reach out, and I hope that it helps some people let go and find peace in their lives.
No, I hear you. Anything else on any news? Like, what's the next evolution now for Hero's Journey? Last out, the film, the play. You got any news you want to throw out or no?
Okay,
or hold off?
I'll put this out.
Okay.
I'll put this out. There's big news coming on the play.
Okay.
Like, there's big news coming on the play, and we'll make the announcement here. How about that?
All right, there you go.
We'll make the announcement here. But I will say this. If you haven't seen the play live, you'll have a chance to remedy that in 2023.
That's what I'm talking about.
And if you've seen the play live, it's going to be a radically different version. And it's something we are super excited about. We're going to be there's going to be a partnership that I think veterans are going to be really excited about.
Awesome.
And this is going to be a very, very special thing at a time that I think we need it. I think coming out of this Afghanistan abandonment, we need it. And so there'll be an announcement coming soon. And by soon, I mean a couple months.
Okay.
And I think people are going to be really, if you like the film, you're going to love the live version of this thing.
Now, when you say there's going to
coming
be
to a city near you,
are you going? So you're basically is it almost like a, I don't know, is it kind of like a sequel? Is it or is just like an extended version with up to date events or because I mean I've never heard of.
Well, you'll just have to wait and see. My friend.
You know me. Come on, man. You know I'm impatient.
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Can I pull off a team sergeant at 54 years old? That's what I'm most worried about. Like that's my biggest concern right now is can I pull off a team sergeant at 54? I'm training my butt off right now.
I was about to say
it's going to be.
You were sweating on film and on in live too, so you need to drink some more water too while you're at it.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be intense. But so to answer your question, I just what I will tell you is, it is going to be a live. The play is going to be live again. It's gonna hit the road again. It's gonna pack a serious punch. It will reflect what has happened over the last couple of years since we took it off the road.
Gotcha.
And I think it's going to just it's going to be electric, man.
And
it's going to be something that we all need. We just need it at a community level. We need this kind of storytelling. We need to find our voice again. You know, I saw something that like the veteran hotline has had an 81% spike since the abandonment on this time last year. 81%. And then like when you go to the VA website though, there's like nothing about Afghanistan and what happened. And so we're going to elbow our way into the room around the country, and we're going to tell the story of what our men and women did, and what their families endured, and so that we never forget. That's what this is all about.
One of the questions I got is that with this update, with this new change to reflect, are you going to have any guest vet actors, or is there any way somebody could apply to participate in this? Yeah,
for sure. We are looking at some guests that people will be excited about.
Awesome.
We're gonna just keep dialing it up and bringing in some fresh blood, some old faces as well, but some new faces. And if anybody, no kidding, like if you got the acting chops, or you've walked the boards and you think it might be something that you'd like to try, we will be looking at interns and even some character roles, most likely in the coming months. And there is a good chance that this thing could have some longevity to it, much like, other plays have done that last for a while.
No, you're right.
I don't mean to be speaking in riddles, but
no. Well, I mean,
but yeah,
I think everybody's. I think our audience are pretty, are pretty quick to know what you mean, because they I almost see this like one of those long-term. I don't want to say it's. Is there like a veteran version of like the Tony Awards or something like that? Have you considered this going on Broadway with this?
Well, yes. I mean, here's the way I look at it. This is the way I think about it is, and it's nothing against Hollywood and Broadway. Like those actors actually have been super kind to us. They've really opened their hearts to us. Awesome. I mean, they have trained us.
That's good to hear.
We fought this war for 20 years, and I'm not convinced that we need Hollywood to tell our story anymore. I think we have enough talent in our community of people who have really we work hard. This is not an after school special. We train as performers. The only thing about this is I just don't want to lose the edge of it. Like I don't necessarily want to play the Hollywood game with this, or even the Broadway game. Like we're going to take this play house outside of Fort Bragg or Fort Carson, and we can get the butts in the seats, and it's going to help that community, then that's where we're going. And I'm like you. I'm a little long in the tooth, man, and I don't need that, like the Broadway. If that happened, that we'd look at it maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in bringing this thing to the folks who are out there going through it right now, and letting them know that we love them, validating the roles they played and the miles they ran in front of their community, so that they can sit with their fellow neighbors, and their family can look up there and go, holy crap, that's what you did? And they can say, yeah, that's what I did.
Exactly.
And that's my Broadway, brother.
No, that's the reason why I asked is because there's a lot of, you hear stories about small movies and small films, and then they get sent to like Cannes or Cannes Film Festival, and then all of a sudden it gets all the buzz, and it gets that generated to where it's the recognition of it. I'm not so much saying that. I mean, I should have asked this better, but maybe just displaying it to the Broadway audience to say, hey, look, fuckers, this is what happened. You know what I mean? As opposed to,
for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, bro. And I will tell you, we've already entered the play, and Jamie would kill me for not bringing this up, but I'll tell you, and I never lead with this, but we've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 awards already in film festivals.
Oh, there you go.
I guess I should have said that.
No, it's a.
But it's. Proud of it, and they should be.
No, of course.
But for me, it's like, what does this do for a Gold Star family member? What does this do for a civilian never heard the crack of a round. What does this do for, that wounded guy or girl who is just wondering, like, what was the point? Those are my metrics. And that's why I really love the questions that are coming in and the feedback, because it means everything to me. Like, those are my metrics.
Yeah, exactly. No, those are your credentials. You're right, because it's the feedback from the audience that's bringing it back to you. Reason why is because one of them was one of the questions was, have you taken this to Broadway? And I think it was like it being like a, hey Broadway, hey audience, hey, because you were saying, the Hollywood audience, the Hollywood mind, the Hollywood set, I guess you'd say, would have it's just another war movie. When I think it should be like, no, it's not just another war movie. You need to sit down and see what we've gone through, and just to show, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't be mad if I send this.
Experience it.
Yeah. Well, don't be mad if I send this to like some buddies at con. How about that, huh? No, I'm just kidding.
No, man, I would love it. No, dude, I would. I mean, look, I think that helps with the longevity of the project, and anything like that gets it out there wider. I think that's great. And I wouldn't push back on Broadway. I just wouldn't get all wrapped up in it. I would just be, I would try to just stay as grounded on it as we can. But I totally get what you're saying. And we did do it off of Broadway. We were just, I don't know if Broadway would consider it off Broadway, but we performed it. But the thing was, man, when we were touring, and this is no kidding, Ice, like when we toured, we put 28,000 miles on a U-Haul van.
Yeah.
Like, we had community hosts in every location who would host us and sponsor it. And we had to raise like $35K every place we went, and we were living hand to mouth on this thing. And so that's where we come from here. And this was all veterans and family members that did this. And so that's where we come from. And I don't want to lose that. Whatever happens with it, I just want to stay true,
No, exactly.
And make this be something that our community is proud of, Yeah.
No, I hear you. You want to maintain it at the grassroots level. That's totally understandable. I always just like to think.
I think that's where it's strongest.
Yeah, exactly what I was about ready to say. I think that's where it would be highlighted the most. Hey guys, so we're gonna take a break right quick, and then. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, the only thing is that if we could get it in higher venues, I just think it helps get the word out more, and we'll take any of that.
Of course. Guys, we're going to go ahead and take a break, so that way me and Scott could, get ready to set up for the next session. He's doing pretty good as a co-host. Maybe I might bring him back again. But at any rate, we're going to take a break, and then everybody refill your glasses. Go smoke them if you got them. Hit the latrine, and we'll be right back. So, shots.
What is this Facebook Live? I've never heard of this shit.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Take it from me, Ice. You can't just float around space not caring about stuff forever.
The voice of U.S. Army. WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Shit in the bag, Pogue.
Nothing feels the same. Let it all be
I am here determined to stop this future atrocity.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
And we're back. Me and my guest host, Scott Mann, also plays as Sergeant Danny Patton. Last out, LSU the Green Beret movie and play. So we're gonna jump right back into the conversation of Afghanistan, man. I just got this today, Operation Pineapple Express. So now you're like jumping into in writing and stuff. So you went from play, filmmaker, and now you busted out a book. I just got this in the mail today, and so I can't wait to dive into reading this. So tell us about Operation Pineapple Express, man. I'm just flipping through it right quick, and so much detail. Can you go ahead and just give us a little bit of a sneak peek?
Yeah, I mean, Pineapple Express was a project. I've written a few books in my life, Ice, and I've never. But I self-published them. They were about like tribal dynamics in Afghanistan and transition from the military. This was a book that I never planned to write. I started 10 years ago. We were talking about the play. That was where I was when this time last year, exactly. We were getting ready to launch the play on film on September 11th. That was our plan. And just like so many of the people who were just caught completely surprised by what happened in Afghanistan. Everybody was executing their life, and I left the Army as a lieutenant colonel, pretty disgruntled with where we were going in Afghanistan back in 2013, and the careerism that was taking over the special operations community, particularly in the officer ranks. I just had no use for it, and so I retired, and about June of last year, I started getting text messages and on Signal from a friend of mine named Nizam, who was a former Afghan commando, a former Afghan Special Forces NCO, and a graduate of the Special Forces Qualification Course at Bragg. This dude was legit. I'd met him in 2010 when we were doing village stability operations at the local level when I was helping to get that program going. And Nizam was one of the first Afghan Green Berets on the battlefield, and was just an amazing guy, an amazing friend. And he contacted me early summer saying, look, I'm out of the Army now. I'm a contractor. I'm just trying to get out of the country because the Taliban are texting me every day saying they're going to kill me. Every province is falling one by one. Hiding in my uncle's house, and by the time we got into August, early August, it was very clear that he wasn't going to get out unless we did something to try and help him. I mean, the government was not picking up the phone. And so it became really just an effort to try and help a friend, just to help a friend who was in trouble. And so a handful of us, using relationships and our knowledge of Afghanistan and our time there and, digital tools like Signal, we just put together kind of a virtual war room, and we went to work trying to be his eyes and ears. And we ultimately helped move him through the airfield. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because people haven't read the book, but as he got to the gate where he was about to be thrown out, a diplomat who we had a phone number to, it was like a Hail Mary final thing. He was about to get tossed out. We called this diplomat, and the diplomat said, tell him to say pineapple, man. That's the way he's going to, use that code word right now. And we're like screaming it to him, and he did, and that became Operation Pineapple Express. And then what followed was about a 3-day period that really started a year ago today. An underground railroad using an open sewage canal and a 4-foot hole in the fence and a connection with the 82nd Airborne that we were able to pull several hundred people through that underground railroad for several days until a bomb went off. And that's what the book is about. It's about all of those events that happened and the amazing Afghans that made the run for freedom and the veterans and the volunteers that tried to help them. Like it's about that. It's a street level gut punch kind of story that has not been told.
When you got in the ground, I mean, I know you're going to you chronicle this in the book, and it's a pretty thick book. But usually when events like this happen, is it a pretty quick read? I mean, it just flipping through some of it, and I can see time sequences and timelines, and it looks like it's a fast read.
It is a fast read. Here's the thing. So there are a lot of books coming out on the collapse of Afghanistan, and there should be. There should be lots of points of view. We have lots of information gaps that need to be filled, and this is just one book. But what I will say that I think sets this book apart from other books is that, first of all, it's written in the third person. You know, I wrote it. It's not this one time at band camp, here's what I did. Like, it's just, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And two, I didn't do very much. I got a group of people together, and they did all the heavy lifting, and mostly NCOs and junior officers, frankly, who just were stellar. And I wanted to tell the story through their lens, Ice. I wanted to tell it through the eyes of the Afghans. Like, when's the last time we had an Afghan protagonist in a story, you know? So that's one thing that I can tell you when you read the book is you're gonna read it through the lens of an Afghan commando moving his family through a sewage canal and enduring a beating at a checkpoint, you know, and trying to keep his children sheltered as they do it. And while the shepherd that's guiding him is on his knees, like biting his knuckles as he's listening to them beat this guy's wife. Like, it's that kind of connection. It's that kind of intensity. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, what it really comes down to that I guess I'm most proud of is not just Pineapple, but all the volunteer groups. It's just the best in America. You know, when the crappiest of situations presented themselves, our veteran population stepped up and delivered the goods, even though they were way out over their skis and still are. That to me is just the story. Like, that's the story, is that these amazing veterans who have already given us so much and done so much answered the phone when nobody else did. And that's the story that I try to tell. If you've seen the movie Dunkirk, like the remake, it reads like
I'm trying to formulate my next question here. You posted you wrote for Task and Purpose, and you've been on Fox News. What's the biggest takeaway from all that has happened? I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I want that energy that you and I had over the phone to like fling out. You know what I mean? I mean, this is like, what do you feel about what you?
No, you're right. Look, I'm still pissed, and I'm still pissed, man. I'm just this whole thing to me was completely avoidable. And if you felt like we needed to leave Afghanistan, which there is a compelling argument made at the policy level that we should have, okay, fine. But there was a way to retrograde that we could have honored the promise that was explicitly made to the Special Immigration Visa folks, the SIVs, and implicitly made to our partners on the battlefield. Because all of us in the special operations community, whether you're Delta, Ranger, Special Forces, we are groomed and trained to take care of our partner force. Like, that's what you do. You don't abandon your partner force wholesale, pull their contract support in the middle of the night in June with no warning, when you raise that army in your own image to be dependent on specialized fires, surgical infill, ISR, all of the things that require immense contractor support to keep the Taliban off base, right? You don't just that. Like, you don't do that. And we've got a habit, Ice, of doing this, like from Vietnam with the Montagnards, Syria with the Kurds, Iraq, and now here. We have this long line, and it's created a moral injury on our veteran population that is enormous. And I don't think our senior officers, our politicians, or our diplomats get it. I mean, 78% of veterans feel betrayed and 67% feel humiliated from what happened in Afghanistan. Those are very alarming numbers. So my first point to you is, I think veterans are really upset about this, right? And whether they thought we should be in Afghanistan or not, that's not the point. The way we did it, and then the way we just shuffled the responsibility onto the backs of veterans to handle this, is egregious. So the first problem I have is with the moral injury and the lack of leadership at the senior level with politicians, diplomats, and I hate to say it, our military leaders as well.
You had different points that you discussed in your article about it. What's some of the immediate actions? Like you said, you and I were talking about immediate action drills and remedial action. So you also had listed
Yeah. Well, okay, so there's a couple of major issues that, to me, we have to resolve, man. Like, but let's just bring it down to thinking about this audience. Let's just bring it down to this audience, okay? Our veteran population is the moral compass of the nation. Always has been, always will be. It represents the heartbeat of a free democratic society. We look to our veterans for leadership in the darkest of times. Why? Because they've been through it. They've run the miles. They know what it's like to suffer. They know what it's like to struggle. And they know what it's like if you don't stand up and do the right thing in dark moments. They know how that ends. And we took that fragile population that has given us so much over 20 years, and we basically just had them shoulder the whole load for basically volunteering to be a lifeline for tens of thousands of Afghans, to keep them alive, to maneuver them, to pay for safe houses and medical care and babies born. Like, it's insane. These men and women have cashed in their pensions, their retirement accounts, and even those who didn't, they're affected by this. A moral injury is an injury on the soul. So, like, our veteran population is deeply affected by this. And the mental health aspects of it are significant. And I'm seeing it, and I know a lot of people listening to this are too. So if we just take that, what do we do about it? What do we do about that? And that moral injury, you cannot ignore it. If you ignore it, you run the risk of doing what we did to our Vietnam veteran population. We decimated an entire generation of warfighters. And we can't do that again. We can't. Our society at this divided time can't afford it. So our leaders need to recognize the damage that has been done. And I don't know about you, and I want to throw this back to you. I want to get your take on this. I don't believe our leaders have acknowledged what's been done. I don't think they've acknowledged that the moral injury has occurred. And that includes the administration, yes, but also the Trump administration had a lot to do with this. It includes the diplomats, but most of all, who we need right now are the general officers, the flag officers, and the senior enlisted advisors to step forward and acknowledge that this injury has occurred, both past and present leaders now, and start leading the effort to restore and heal from it. And I am not seeing that in any capacity. I'm curious what you're seeing.
I'm right there with you, brother. It's specifically when it comes to how a small news event can lead into testimonies and hearings. But when it comes to something as big as this and how the withdrawal happened, specifically a timeline, I want to see hearings. I want to see testimony. I want to see, hey, look, okay, you're retired. You know, obviously right. we can't hold nothing against you, but I want to know why 2 decades of the global war on terrorism were briefed as being turning the corner, or everything's going great, or the Afghans love us, or the Taliban's, you know, we're whatever hype and navel gazing they want to play out. I want to have testimonial hearings of our leaders to Congress and back and forth. Who are the ones that received the briefs? Who are the ones Who are the ones that received the briefs? Who are the ones that accepted those missions to continue to keep us there? And then those the individuals of Congress, they need to testify and what their roles were. like you were saying, back to the Trump administration or this administration, hell, even to the Obama and the Bush administration.
That's right.
There are so many people that got promoted all the way up saying that shit was hunky dory, and all of a sudden we see the culmination of a bad house being built with poor foundation and a poor structure. So it.
Oh man, yeah.
I that's what I want to say. That's what I want.
I agree, Ice. And if I hear if I heard the Taliban are fractured one more time, I think I'm going to lose it.
Right.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times flag officers were saying that and testifying to Congress, and it wasn't true. They weren't fractured. They were actually getting more and more resilient as we went. And, the way we prosecuted this war, the way we fought this war was equally underwhelming across all administrations. It's not a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. It's an American issue. And it was the longest war in our history. Now, I want to come back to that if we can. Maybe we can put a pin in that, because I do not subscribe to this notion that Afghanistan was in vain or a waste of effort. And I'll defend that in a second.
Of course.
But to your question of, okay, what do we do about it? What needs to be done? And I'm kind of couching everything around this moral injury to the veteran community. If you acknowledge that has happened to some degree, or even to a great degree, we need leadership to step up and own it, right? That is not, to me, even if that's not indicative of you going against the administration or putting your career at risk. Like this is what we took an oath to do as senior leaders for our people. And they need us to lead right now. But if you look at all the news hits, look at all the public space where advocacy is happening, and look at the ranks of all the retired dudes that are advocating. They're lieutenant colonels or below. Every one of them, right? Every now and then you'll see a general, but very rarely. So what is that all about, really? Why? Why are there no, and I know this is heresy in the special ops community, but where are the GoFos, past and present, in the public space advocating for what we need to do with this moral injury? When you have 73% of veterans saying they feel betrayed, I mean, that is a staggering number. It is a staggering indictment against what leadership has inflicted on this population. So I think that's number one. They got to step up. And then, what are the actions taken, like you said, for transparency? We've had one public hearing since all this started. I think we ought to be demanding in the midterms, and people ought to be calling their congressmen and their senators demanding public hearings on Afghanistan so that we can hear what happened, right? And where are the formal after-action reviews from the military community, from Special Ops, from USASOC, from SF Command?
Thank you.
None.
Thank you. Oh, hell, not just because you got to think about it too. The invasion of Afghanistan was a soft-led mission. Where's our Green Book AARs that we like to preach in JRTC or NTC? Where are those? And like you were saying, it's not an attack on an administration. These are AAR comments that I think are important, that what we teach in our profession. We teach in our profession that we have hot washes, we have AARs, no feels, don't get upset, and this is what you didn't do, and this is what you did do.
That's right.
And so I don't understand why that culture has not okay, well, since I've been trained, since you've been trained as that, then let's have that fucking hot wash. Let's have that Green Book AAR. Hell, let's do it by every 5 years. From 2001 to 2006, what happened in that period? From 2000, let's just keep going all the way up until 2021 of what we were supposed to have happened. And the reason why I say 2001 is because the war didn't really kick off until September, October timeframe. So that's why I'm giving it from 2001 to 2006. So I agree with that. I don't understand why we have not had, or we should, or there's been, there's testimonies in Congress, like you said, from the GoFos that they just, okay, well, here's what's going on, and here's the appropriated money for this, and there you go. Everyone high fives it. We're turning the corner and all that. But we've not had any cases of, hey, we didn't mean to drone that family, so here's what we're doing to mitigate, and here's what we didn't mean to do for civil for a green on blue. This is what we need to do for. It just seemed like a story would go by where there'd be a turncoat within the ANA. And the next thing you know, okay, well, it just turns out another green on blue incident. All right, is anybody going to get the Navy relieves people for fucking bumping ships in the goddamn ocean. So I don't understand why, especially when it came to war, why are we not seeing the same type of testimony?
Because it doesn't. I'll tell you one thing: is it doesn't lend itself to one's legacy. That's for damn sure, right? And I don't want to get in here casting deep aspersions.
Of course.
You tell me, bro, where are the GoFos in the public space right now? Like, where are they? We need them present in the. It's not. I understand that a lot of them are behind the scenes doing shit to get Afghans out. Great. What I'm saying is, this moral injury that has occurred on our population, and it's real, right? You have 30,177 veteran suicides with active duty and post 9/11 veterans. I think that's the number. It's damn close. Mm-hmm. As opposed to 7,000. Now, I'm not diminishing the 7,000. That's a massive number. But 30,000 plus, that is also a battlefield casualty.
Right.
And that number, a large chunk of that number came in the last 3 years. Now, you tell me, 73% veterans feel betrayed, 67% feel humiliated. What is that going to do to mental health? And
oh, you're right. You're
staggering.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you don't, go ahead.
No, I was saying you're right. Exactly. Due to the fact that there's a comment right now Kaz put out, and he says, why accept the USA's help if they're just going to pop smoke if shit gets inconvenient or the public stops supporting?
Right.
Right.
Right. And let's unpack that for a minute, man. So why are we not talking about the national security implications of wholesale abandonment of a partner force? Let's take 2 minutes and go down this road. Okay. First of all, I believe that if you look at the calculus that Putin put in place to invade Ukraine, heavily factored with how the United States responded in Afghanistan. I think a lot of strategists would tell you that, that was a criteria. Number two, what potential partner on the planet would seriously consider
right
was required.
Right.
But yet, we're not going to take on China or Russia or even North Korea or even ISIS or Al Qaeda unilaterally. We're going to work by, with, and through surrogates and partners. It's what we've done since before the Cold War. Like, we're not going to go take on Russia. But right now, we don't even have the ass in our britches to look somebody in the eyes and say, hey, I'm from the government. How do you like?
Yeah, we're from the government. We're from the government. We're here to help. We're here to help you.
We're here to help.
Yeah,
we're here to help. Listen, why don't we partner together? We'll partner together, and they're going to be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
there's no way.
Yeah, and that's why I'm always on the fence. I go back and forth, especially. I mean, I'm glad you talked about the national security implications, but it's why I see the same way about supporting Ukraine. I definitely support Ukraine kicking the fuck out of Ivan. Since we've been kids, everybody knows that the big red horde coming across the Fulda Gap, we got to fight Ivan. That's our thing. But after Afghanistan, after Iraq, I am not up to sending our soldiers out there when you have an entire continent of NATO forces that, while we, like you said, by with and through, they can go ahead. Hey, look. Russia says they're going to mess with NATO. I think that's part of NATO's charter anyways. I know people are going to think I'm warmongering or trying to say I'm trying to drop Article 5, back and forths and whatever. But now's the time to put up or shut up. NATO was created to fight the Warsaw Pact in its own scenario. And here we're seeing right there on their doorstep, hey, we'll keep sending the javelins and the HIMARS, but now I think it's time for Germany and Britain or any other country that's part of NATO to go ahead and start setting up some reinforced positions within Ukraine. You can always sit there much and say, hey, I'm going to keep sending you money, Ukraine, but to the Ukrainian that's sitting in a village.
We have a great refuge.
Yeah. Just sit there and, hey, I'm sorry, sir. Are you sorry, Ukrainian family? Yeah, the Russians came through and rolled and slaughtered, entire, bloodlines, but we're going to keep sending you money. And then post little flags in our freaking profiles with a little sunflower. I think it's now.
I stand with Ukraine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see.
You're right, man. You're right. There's so many national security implications to the whole. Like no one, the fact that the commandos, they know so much about us and our tactics, our techniques, and our procedures.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Go back in there and do some kind of CT response. I mean, you're going to be facing down potentially pissed off commandos, man, versus, a receptive ground party like we had post 9/11, of the Northern Alliance. Like, it ain't going to be like that.
Yep. It's like we've supported them. I mean, and now they're like, wait a minute, you're coming back here and you just left, and now thanks for teaching us everything, but now we're going to kick your ass. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to be your kid. It's going to be your kid and my kid.
Right.
That's what the play's about too. If you watch Last Out, like Danny says, how can I let my son fight?
Yeah, exactly. Fight a war. Yep.
And if you read Operation Pineapple Express, like the big thing in that book is talks about relationships. It talks about relationships and how relationships really are the essence of by, with, and through. They're the essence of how we partner. And you can't just, throw relationships away willy-nilly and expect to then just go do it again somewhere else, right? It doesn't work. You don't get like a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Problem of abandonment of our partners going all the way back to the Montagnards in Vietnam. And here's my thing. You talk to any expert on moral injury, any mental health expert, any organizational psychologist, and they will tell you that the biggest thing that is required are leaders to get involved, and then you have to demonstrate to the parties that have suffered the moral injury that it is going to be corrected. It won't happen again. And right now, there are like zero assurances at all. I mean, and that's to your point on Ukraine. And I don't want to see us partner anywhere else because I don't want to see this happen to a partner force again.
Right, exactly.
And to our veterans, to my kid, who's going to have to endure that moral injury and that responsibility of abandonment and be, we have veterans right now, ICE, that are trying to restore the lost honor that the United States lost through this abandonment by cashing in their retirement funds, keep families alive when the government's doing zero. That follow us home and that will put us on a pathway that we may not come back from. And so that's what Pineapple's really about. You ask about those points. I mean, it is about the moral injury. It is about the wholesale abandonment of our partner force, and that we've got to set that right. Something like 2/3 of veterans surveyed said their mental health would improve if Afghans partners were resettled. That's a strong statement, man. But where are the leaders that are listening to that, acknowledging it, and trying to at least address it? I see none doing it.
You bring up a good question. The Operation Pineapple Express book, at the time of writing, how many Afghan allies have we left behind that we promised to bring back? Do you know?
You cut off. Ask me that again. How many what?
No, how many Afghan allies have we left behind as of the writing?
Oh, man. There's probably close to 70,000, I think. SIVs, the special immigration visa. There's probably 25 to 30,000 commandos, special operators who, they have no pathway to getting out because they don't qualify for an SIV, if you can believe that. They don't, a barber on Bagram Air Force Base qualifies for an SIV because he worked technically for the U.S. government. An Afghan commando, because he worked for the Afghanistan government, doesn't qualify for any kind of exodus. And then people say, well, he's a commando. Remember that any kind of resistance in any war requires resilience. And these dudes fought since 2014. They carried 98.9% of the load. They have endured severe battle trauma. All of their support was yanked out from under them, to include medevac. Right. And they are now actively, they couldn't go back to their homes because their records were compromised when the Ministry of Defense was raided by the Taliban. So they couldn't even go back to their homes to make it through the winter. They've been skulking from safe house to safe house with veterans paying their rent. Right. And they're hunted by the Taliban every single day, man. Like, how can we even allow that to happen to a group of people that we stood at their shoulder for 20 years, man? And after the post 9/11 event, I mean, we were hit so hard on 9/11, we swore that would never happen to us again, right? You and I made that oath, like that will not happen on my watch again. And it didn't. Like we bled for a human intelligence and partner network that the 9/11 Commission said was not in place and was an Achilles heel. So we bled for it. We fought for it. Our buddies died for it. And then we gave it all away a year ago today. Gave it all away. 20 years of institutional relationship building, capacity building. And look, man, we could have maintained that with a couple thousand dudes doing foreign internal defense. And we could debate that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The
guys and their families.
Yeah.
It's inexcusable.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. The timeline operation, the timeline of the book takes us from when to when?
Well, it picks up with Nizam. I told you about him. It picks up with his life in the very beginning around the end of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. So around 1989, we get you set there. Mm-hmm. And then we very quickly take you through using Nizam's life. Nizam's an amazing character. He grew up in a little village of Takhar. And you see the abuse. His father was killed by the Soviets. He was a freedom fighter, and just the abuse he endured as a child. Ultimately, the Americans arriving and him going through the commando process. He was only like 5 foot tall, 105 pounds. But to become a commando, we get to see how Afghanistan traversed from the Soviet occupation all the way through. And then we start following timeline compresses, and we start getting really tight around early summer last year. Gotcha. And then once we get to, the actual collapse of Kabul, we start going minute by minute, and that clock starts ticking towards the exodus of U.S. troops and the ISIS bomber that we know is lurking in the crowd.
I want to say that everybody that I know that will actually all of us that were watching that canal, knowing, hey, look, you didn't have to be a military strategist, you didn't have to be a soft guy, you didn't have to be in the military to know that something was gonna fucking happen.
Yeah.
What did you guys get? I mean, I don't know if it's in the book or not, because, but was there an inkling? Was there a hint that, oh shit, something's happening?
Yeah.
Before we got the word publicly.
Yeah. Remember too that in all of these volunteer groups, not just members in them, there were active duty members that were stationed in the United States, but also forward in Afghanistan that were feeding information on what was happening on the ground inside the airport, outside the airport. And there was a lot of collaboration happening on Signal in near real time about what.
Gotcha.
They were spooked as hell about an ISIS-K threat. They felt like one was coming. And a lot of our former commandos and Afghan special forces, they were getting intel and updates as well. So it was everywhere that ISIS was going to make a run. And we felt like it was probably going to be Abbey Gate. I mean, honestly.
Yeah. We had some worse.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was saying we had some worst case scenario red team guys that I was talking to, and they were afraid that it was going to happen on board one of the planes, on board one of the evac aircraft.
Well, that is a terrible scenario, and there's no good scenarios, and
right,
certainly
right.
The one that happened was horrific.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and we weren't really, we were focused on anything away from the men and women that went to HKIA and did that NEO. Like, they did a Herculean job.
They did.
Whether they were flying the...
They did.
They did. Man, they did the nation's work, and it was the stuff of legend, and it always will be. And I don't... in a real shitstorm. But there were gaps, right, in this whole thing, and one of the gaps was that you had this sea of people outside the fence, and if you were standing watch or guarding or pulling people in, like, you didn't know really who was who. And the thing was, we the volunteer groups, because we had worked there, and I think because they were calling us, and in many ways, we organized pretty fast. We knew who they were, we knew where they were, and they trusted us to move them as their eyes and ears responsibly and present them responsibly at the right place, right time, at a 4-foot hole in the fence, which was Apple Express or other locations. And if you could get that established with certain men and women that were on the perimeter, it became a mechanism that worked really well, because we could fill that gap. We knew who they were. We could build baseball cards on them. We had worked with them. We had vetted them. In many cases, like Matt Coburn, who was in Pineapple, was the last. He actually had manifests of the Afghan commandos and had them on buses.
Oh, wow.
Loaded up and ready. Okay. That's the kind of organization that you saw. And that was we knew that time was limited, and that something bad was probably going to happen. We shared that with our Afghan partners, and to the man and woman, they said, we're not leaving. We're not leaving here. This is our.
Oh, wow. I were you there when the bombing happened?
No, none of us were on the ground. We did everything remotely. Tim Kennedy and some of those guys went in. Travis Peterson went in, and they, their stories are amazing. But we decided very early on. It was never even really up in the air for us. We knew that we were going to work this remotely, because, like I just said, the role that we really played was a very, very defined, gap in time and space, which was, how do you present responsibly highly vetted individuals to these men and women on the gate so that they feel.
No, I got you. Yeah, no,
we played, and we were able to do that remotely without getting in the way.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. So, this whole thing. This book is. You just said just got released just today, right?
Well, it comes out January 30. My God, August 30.
Whoa,
which
dude.
is God, like next Tuesday. It'll be out. It's going to be out also on audio. I recorded the audio myself, and I play like 21 characters in it, so I got to really stretch my chops on the voice acting. Dude. But I think it's pretty engaging. I think people will really enjoy the audiobook as well. But it's on OperationPineappleExpress.com or just on Amazon. But it comes out January 30. You can pre-order it, and I hope people will pre-order it. I think it's a very compelling, powerful story that just has not been told.
It's awesome. So again, this is what it looks like. I got my copy, so I'm like I said, I'm going to be traveling pretty soon, and I'm going to be using this as a book to read while I'm on the plane. Hey Scott, thank you so much for hanging out, brother. This is I was about to say, this is probably, we've never done a co-hosting gig like this before with a guest. So I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And if I could just maybe leave your listeners with this is, I'm really worried about our brothers and sisters right now and their family members. And so I have a couple of asks maybe. And our brother and sister's keeper over the next, I don't know, at least the next 30 to 45 days, maybe even all the way up until the holidays,
right? Through
the holidays. This year-long anniversary is having a profound effect on a lot of people's mental health, even more so than the collapse, because they've had a year to process it. They have not seen demonstrable leadership in this and resolution. It has stacked up and created residue that is very dangerous. And I just think we really, really, really need to check in on each other more than we've ever done, and really be heightened and attuned to that. And the other thing is, I think if you know a Gold Star family, I think reaching out to them this time of year, because a lot of the Gold Star families, particularly those who lost loved ones in Afghanistan,
agreed,
they're trying to make sense of it, but just let them know that you love them and that it mattered. And the one thing I want to say, this is, maybe I'll leave with this, is I wanted to come back to it, that it matters, is I was just talking to a Lieutenant General Sami Sadat. He was the Lieutenant General that was called to Kabul by Ghani on the 13th of August to take over Special Operations Forces. He was fighting in Helmand, and then was asked to defend Kabul as Ghani's ass was getting on a helicopter on the 14th. But Sammy stayed there till the end. He fought. Really, really solid dude. I was talking to him just the other day. He's going to come on my podcast in a week or two.
Awesome.
But he's in a third country right now. And I asked him, I said, "Are you coming to the United States?" And he said, "No, I'm going back to Afghanistan, and we're going to take that country back." And he goes, "And let me tell you who's going to take it back. It's going to be men and women who experienced 20 years of freedom that your brothers and sisters fought for us.
Ugh.
And we're not done yet."
Oof.
We're not done yet, and we're going to go take it back. And I honestly, I believe it. I swear to God, I believe it. I would not count the Afghan people out yet. I know there's a lot of skepticism, a lot of negativity. I get it. But I'm telling you, the men and women that I knew and that I've fought alongside and that I've seen in this last year, there's no doubt in my mind that what we fought for 20 years has yet to be fully realized. And I think it's going to manifest in the actions of young men and young women who experienced some version of freedom for 2 decades, and they're not going to squander it. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
No, that brings me one last question then. They know, right? They know that we fucking are pissed off that we left, that they know that we left this way. They know this, right?
Yeah, I talked to Sammy about it, and I said, we're with you, right? I mean, there's a lot of special operators, a lot of veterans that are going to be cheering you on, man, and probably a bunch that want to go over there. But it's just, you need to know that, and regardless of what's. And he said, we do, we absolutely do, and I've heard this. I've talked to a lot of special operations, even folks that are still stuck over there, and they know. They know that so many of our veterans and family members took a stand when nobody else did, and they immensely appreciate it. And I don't know how this ends, man. I don't know, but I can tell you, I don't think it's over. I don't think it's over, and I would be very, very reluctant to think that our history with Afghanistan is done. Just because that place has a way of once you connect to it, it doesn't let you go. And this burying our hand in the sand shit we're gonna reap it if we don't wake up and recognize the geographic and strategic significance of that country, that the Russian and China embassies are still open there, that ISIS and Al Qaeda are reconstituting massively. We need to wake the hell up, man. And it starts with these hearings that you talked about, and we got to get our feet back under us and I think we need to support the resistance there, even just to the degree that you said with Ukraine, even if it's just material support and just like, hey, we're with you. We have your back. Here's some funding. Like, you got to have some resilience to resist. And I think we should do that.
Great. Dude, that's it's incredible to know that fight is still there. You know what I mean? That fight is
it's there.
It's still there. I mean, hey Scott, thanks again for hanging out. And again, you are always welcome to come back and shoot the shit with us. You're always welcome to come back. Hell, you're always welcome to come back and guest host with us. I mean, this is now
right on, brother.
This has been pretty. This is a pretty good discussion. Guys, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and take off. However, again, Operation Pineapple Express. We dropped the links inside the chats. Make sure you get it. Make sure you reserve a copy. Being released next week, August 31st, not January, like Scott said. But guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And again,
appreciate it. You
guys can look at Last Out until tomorrow morning. It'll be removed and taken down, and then you can go ahead and look at it. Use Amazon, like Scott Mann said. When those platforms are giving money to his workshop as well, so all the proceeds are going to a good cause. And you can share, like, and follow. And again, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Me and Scott are going to shoot the shit. But other than that, y'all have a good night. You can
Appreciate it.
Yeah, right, man.
Hey, this is SEAC retired John Wayne Troxel. You're listening to WTF Nation Radio, the station of choice for all of the badass MFers on the planet.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
On WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.